Hi guys, welcome to my latest video of what am I drinking. So how did I choose this wine? I was rummaging through the wine cellar and I came across this little gem, excuse the pun. It's a half bottle of Gewurztraminer. It's a 2003, so Gewurztraminer is a grape variety. It's a single grape variety, so there's just one grape in this bottle, no blends. It's from the vintage 2003, so it's pretty old. It's quite a mature vintage. Probably the reason why I actually picked it out from the cellar, wondering whether it's still good, which it actually was pretty decent. It's by a producer named Hugel et Fils, from a region in France, one of the most northern regions in France, which is Alsace. It's just on the border with Germany, next to the Rhine River. So Gewurztraminer is actually a pink grape, so it's a pink, thin-skinned grape, and many a time Gewurztraminer wines get a pink tinge or a pink hue to it, or they look a little bit golden. In this case, because of the age, it's just purely golden, so I don't really get the pink tinge over here. Nonetheless, on the nose, it's an extremely aromatic wine. All Gewurztraminers are always aromatic. Funnily enough, Gewurz, we actually call it Gewurz in short, being such a long, complicated, difficult word. Gewurz means spicy. And funny enough, it's not actually a spicy wine. I would say it's more of an aromatic wine, more of a fruity wine. People also think that this wine is very sweet. Not necessarily. For example, this particular wine is not sweet. I would say it's an off dry. I wouldn't say it's actually totally bone dry. There is a little bit of residual sugar, but it's not particularly sweet. What makes it taste sweet or gives the impression of taste, gives it the impression of sweetness is the flavor profile, these aromatic flavors, this pungency that it has. Also, depending on the acidity, that makes it sweeter or less sweet. But let's get to the tasting. So from the color, immediately you know that it's definitely got a bit of age on it. 2003, not a young wine. Immediately you get this typicity of lychees, the sweet Asian dessert, fruit dessert that nobody really orders at restaurants, really, except for me probably. It's got this certain fruit and a certain sweetness to it. You get honey. Strange when it's not actually a very sweet wine. This one is actually also 13.5% alcohol, which is really high for a white wine. It's not so usual. Coming to think of it, 2003 was a very warm year in Alsace, so I can understand why now the alcohol is so high on such a wine. Gewurztraminers tend to have a relatively high alcohol percentage, but 13.5% is competing with the big boys, with the reds. You can also get a little bit of nuttiness, so you can feel that it's got a bit of age on it. Lovely. Again, it's got the similarities from the nose and on the palate. It's very similar. Again, you get that honeyness, that nice honey texture, honey oily. It's slightly oily, slightly rich. It's very deep. So I'd say it's a very rich wine actually. You get ginger flavors, a lot of floral. So I can get roses, definitely rose petal, and then more fruit comes out. The fruit is a sweet fruit, so I'd say a bit like ripe banana. I get the when the banana goes a bit browny, that type of sweetness from the ripe banana. A little bit of the lychee, just like on the nose. which is very typical of Gewurztraminer. If you get a glass of wine and you smell lychees, automatically you know it's this grape variety, 100%. There's a certain creaminess to it as well, a bit oily. The acidity is a little bit on the low side. Obviously, it's I would assume it's the age as well. You get a nice toffee flavour. That's really nice. That's really interesting. It keeps lingering in the mouth, this toffee and banana. That's lovely. So the acidity is a little bit low, as I said, and I would think because of the acidity, it makes it, the perception makes it even sweeter than it actually is. So I actually made a mistake with this wine. I decided to have an Asian udon noodle soup for dinner, and I made it very spicy with a lot of coriander and a lot of chili and a lot of ginger, hoping that the ginger and the coriander would work really well with the wine. It wasn't bad, but I don't think it was the perfect pairing, if you want my honesty. Probably because it is in the mouth, it is perceived to be sweeter than it actually is, because the acidity is actually quite low, because it's probably a little bit past its best. It would have been better, I would say, a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago would have been ideal. So if I had to probably pair another dish with this, something maybe, I would say curry, something with coconut milk, fruits, apricots, dried peaches, banana thrown in, so curry with a lot of these fruits and Asian spices, that could work well. Or if you're going to fine dine, I would think duck with foie gras, so the saltiness. I wouldn't go for anything sweet, so I wouldn't go for a dessert with this wine, because it is a perception of sweetness, it's true, but it's not actually sweet. So what would happen is, once you have the dessert, which is something sweet, or you have a proper sweet, this would end up tasting on the sour side, or slightly off balance. It just won't stand up to the sweetness. That would be the difference between this, for example, and something that is much sweeter, like a Gewurztraminer, which is vendange tardive, which means late harvest. So Hugel, these producers also produce Gewurztraminer, which is late harvest, and that's Gewurztraminer. You would see vendange tardive, or VT at the bottom, and that means it's a late harvest, so the berries are left on the vine for a short while, or for a relatively short while, till they dehydrate and become like raisins. And then when they pick them, the sugar is much higher, the water content is much lower, so the wine is sweet. Also, they make a sélection de grains nobles, which means selection of noble grapes, or noble in the sense of a noble rot. So what happens is, the berry actually has a special mold, which they call a noble mold, which dehydrates the grape and increases the sugar level. So both those wines are actually very sweet wines, and they can age for decades. I had a 1989 Sélection de Grains Nobles just a couple of months ago, and it was absolutely awesome, fantastic, and could last another 10-15 years. This, on the other hand, being more of a dry wine, it's probably past its best, so I would have probably better drunk it in 2015, I would guess. Anyway, still super enjoyable. As you can see, the bottle's finished, and I think I'll kill it tonight. Cheers!